So, when you think about getting rich, what comes to mind? Probably spreadsheets, complex formulas, stock market data, right? But what if I told you that's all wrong? What if financial success has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave? Okay, we're going to dive deep into this using Morgan Housel's amazing book, The Psychology of Money, as our map.
To get us started, I've got a question for you. Picture this. On one side, you have a janitor. On the other, a top executive from Merrill Lynch with an MBA from Harvard. Who do you think ends up with more money? Now, the answer is going to surprise you, and it pretty much reveals the central secret of how money really works.
And here it is. The janitor, a guy named Ronald Read, just quietly saved what little he could, put it into good old blue chip stocks, and then he just waited. He died with a fortune of over $8 million. The executive, Richard Fuscone, borrowed a ton of money, lived this huge, extravagant life, and got completely wiped out in the 2008 financial crisis. He had to declare bankruptcy. See the difference? One was patient, the other was greedy. And that gap in their behavior was way more important than any gap in their education or salary.
This whole paradox is what makes finance so wild. I mean, you'd never hear a story about a janitor performing a better heart transplant than a Harvard-trained surgeon, right? But in the world of investing, stuff like this happens. And why is that? Because finance isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. This is the big idea Housel calls the psychology of money. We're all taught to think about money like it's physics, with these fixed rules and laws. But it's not. It's psychology. And that means it's messy. It's full of emotions, biases, and weird quirks. A total genius who loses control of their emotions can be an absolute financial disaster. But an ordinary person, with just a few key behavioral skills, they can become wealthy. Okay, so if it's all about behavior, why do we see so many people, even really, really smart people, making what look like completely crazy decisions with their money? Well, the answer is actually buried in our own personal history. This quote from the book just nails it. The core idea is that when it comes to money, nobody is actually crazy. Every financial decision you make seems logical to you because it's based on your own unique experiences. I mean, think about it. Someone who grew up during the Great Depression is going to think about risk in a totally different way than some tech worker who only ever saw the 90s bull market. So it seems nuts to you, makes perfect sense to them. And you can literally see this in the data. Just take a look here. If you were born in 1970, you watched stocks go up 10 times over during your teenage and young adult years. But if you were born in 1950, they basically went nowhere. If you came of age in the 60s, you saw inflation go through the roof. In the 90s, you didn't. These different experiences get hardwired into our financial DNA.
But it's not just our personal history. Every single outcome in life is also guided by these two invisible forces, luck and risk. Bill Gates had this 1 in a million stroke of luck to attend one of the only high schools in the world with a computer back in 1968. But his friend, Kent Evans, who was just as smart, just as ambitious, had a 1 in a million stroke of bad luck. He died in a mountaineering accident. Luck and risk, they're two sides of the same coin, and they're a constant reminder that success is never 100% just about your own effort.
And this brings us to what might be the most dangerous psychological flaw of them all, the one that brings down even the most successful people. It's that insatiable, unending appetite for more.
I mean, just look at these two guys. Rajat Gupta was the CEO of McKinsey. He was worth $100 million. But he wanted to be a billionaire, so he risked everything on insider trading and ended up in prison. And Bernie Madoff? He had this hugely successful, totally legitimate business making tens of millions a year, but it just wasn't enough. Both of these men already had everything you could possibly want, and their endless desire for more just destroyed them.
This story just says it all, doesn't it? The incredible wisdom in that one simple word, enough. It's that ability to know when to stop taking risks, to stop pushing, to stop comparing yourself to the person next to you. It's a type of wealth that no amount of money can ever buy.
So here's the crucial lesson. The real danger isn't just ambition. It's when your ambition starts growing faster than your satisfaction. It's when getting a little bit more just makes you feel like you're falling further behind. That's when you start taking risks you absolutely shouldn't. Learning to say I have enough is the master skill. So if constantly chasing more is the fast track to ruin, what's the path to building real, lasting wealth? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple, and it comes down to two forces we almost always underestimate. The first one is time.
All right, check out this number. It's a huge piece of Warren Buffett's $84.5 billion net worth. So here's the question. Where did that $81.5 billion come from? Was it from his legendary skill, some genius investment he made?
The answer is actually pretty shocking. Almost all of Buffett's massive fortune was accumulated late in life. Yeah, he's a fantastic investor, but his real secret is that he's been a fantastic investor for 75 years. If he had started in his 30s and retired in his 60s like a normal person, you would have never even heard of him. His skill is investing, but his secret weapon is time.
This is the incredible power of compounding. Think about it like an ice age. An ice age doesn't start with some crazy, brutal winter. It starts with a summer that's just a little bit cooler than usual. One that doesn't melt all of last winter's snow. That small base of leftover snow makes it easier for more snow to stick the next year, and then the next, and on until the whole planet is covered in ice. Compounding is just like that. A small, consistent advantage growing over a very, very long time leads to results that just seem to defy all logic.
But here's the catch. For compounding to work its magic, you have to be able to stick around long enough to see it through. And this brings us to the second crucial force, survival. You see, there's a huge difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. And the reason they're so different is that the skills you need are basically opposites. Getting rich, that takes risk-taking. It takes optimism. You have to put yourself out there. But staying rich, that requires humility. It requires a healthy dose of fear that what you've made can be taken away from you just as fast as you got it. It's a completely different mindset. And this is why good investing isn't really about getting the absolute highest returns possible. It's about getting pretty good returns that you can stick with for the longest period of time. It's all about surviving the inevitable recessions and market crashes without getting wiped out or being forced to sell at the worst possible moment. Survival is the absolute foundation of long-term success.
So how do you actually do it? Well, first, aim to be financially unbreakable. That gives you the staying power to ride out the storms so compounding isn't interrupted. Second, your plan needs a margin for error. You have to plan for the plan not to go according to plan. That's key. And third, you need to develop this sort of split personality. Be optimistic about the long term, but paranoid as hell about the short-term risks that could stop you from ever reaching it.
Okay, let's bring this all home with one final and honestly really liberating idea. We tend to think that to be successful, we have to be right all the time, or at least most of the time. But in investing, and in a lot of life, that's just not true at all.
The world of venture capital shows this perfectly. In a typical VC portfolio, most of the startups, like 65% of them, fail completely. They lose money. But then a tiny, tiny fraction, less than 1%, become these massive home runs that generate 50 times the investment or even more. Those few huge winners, what they call the long tails, they pay for all the losers and then some, and they produce all the portfolio's returns. And this isn't just for VCs. This is true for all of us. Success isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about surviving all your small losses so you're still in the game when your few big wins finally come your way. It's about understanding that a few key moments are going to determine the vast majority of your outcome. So the real question isn't how to be right more often. It's how to make sure you're still around long enough for your big wins to count.